Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in again to Strategic Affairs with Mark Chandler. I'm Mark, and let's get on with today's episode. Before I do that, I got to pay a few of the bills, so let's get on with the fact that we are part of the Castle organization, Chandler Associates for Strategic Intelligence and Leadership. You can find us at mark-chandler.com. Our objective, as always, is to inform you on national and international events and sometimes domestic events that have an impact on our national interest, national security. As always, we're going to keep our focus on an intelligence perspective. We're going to keep our opinions out of it. Today, there's not going to be any problem with opinions. I'm kind of dealing with not a theoretical, but kind of a practical process of decision making. I'm going to talk about strategic, operational, and tactical levels of decision making. So what are you getting today? You're probably getting a little bit of that Professor Chandler. So we're going to put on the glasses, make sure we're reading everything right. And then you're going to get a little bit of Marine Corps Chandler, right? And why is that? Because a lot of people have a natural default to when they hear strategic, operational, and tactical to think military only. But I think after the conclusions of today's episode, you're going to understand that you now have a foundation for solid understanding of decision making. Not necessarily whether you'll like the decisions, but maybe you'll understand the decisions and be able to form your own opinion and provide input to what some of those decisions should be, or in certain cases, shouldn't be. So if you'll bear with me just a few minutes, I'm going to try to make this complex understanding of the strategic, operational, and tactical level decision making, which I could take hours. I'm going to make it more comprehensible in just a few short minutes. So first and foremost, what are we talking about? What are we talking about when we say strategic, operational, and tactical? Well, when we make decisions at the diplomatic level, or we're fighting a combat environment situation, we have certain areas. We have the here and now, we have the near term, the midterm, and the long term. So if you look at strategic, operational, and tactical in that context, you're really talking about the impact that those decisions or events that occur happen in the here and now, but the potential future impact. So, what do I mean by those three terms? I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to start at tactical. And in understanding tactical, what you need to know is that we're talking about events that are happening now or an operation that's happening right now. We're in a tactical environment or we're making a tactical decision. We're making a decision, whether it's a personal decision or international relations decision, about something that has an immediate impact on us. So that's what's happening now. If I were to look at it geographically, Marines like to look at territory. So if I'm looking at that, I'm looking at a close in confines. It's hard to put a geographical limit on it if I don't know the area in which, I'm conducting these operations. So geographically, we're talking close in areas from a few miles to tens of miles, maybe a few hundred miles, depending on the situation we're looking at. Now let's go up a level and we're going to talk about the operational level. So if tactical is immediate and it's near term, then what I'm going to look at when I'm operational is the mid range, the midterm kind of decision making. So tactical could be anywhere from minutes to hours, days to weeks. Then I can look at an operational level as going, say, from weeks out to months, maybe even a year down the road out there. Geographically, again, putting that in perspective, where I might be focused on a few tens of miles or hundreds of miles in a tactical environment, I'm going to focus on hundreds to maybe a couple of thousand miles, perhaps in an operational environment, because those events that happen there can affect inside that tactical level. So strategic. And this is the important one. And this is where a lot of our decision makers seem to stumble when they make a decision out there. And that's our strategic focus. Here, I'm talking about a decision now that really has a future impact on us. That future could be months, it could be years down the road, it could be tens of years down the road. That's the important thing. what kind of legacy or what kind of situation are we going to create by making a decision now? And how will that affect us years down the road? And I think sometimes that's what we have to look at. Now, one thing I want to point out, because as you've heard me talk through some of these descriptions, you're going to notice that I had hours, weeks, days, then weeks, days, hours, and overlapping to weeks and months, and that kind of timeline effect. You can actually have a tactical decision that has a strategic impact. So there are those decisions that happen now that literally something that happens or an event that happens right now has a significant strategic impact on us. So there is a common thread that runs through all three of these. We like to keep it antiseptic and separate all those decisions, but sometimes we don't control how that happens. And so you just got to realize that there can be a mix. On a personal level, I've talked a lot about how we make decisions in the military and how that's going to affect us. Diplomatically, we can look for a diplomatic solution on an event or an issue right now, today, and it can make us feel very good, but have a negative impact on us into the future, on your children, on your children's children. And I think that's what we have to focus on when we're making those decisions. And unfortunately, some of those here and now decisions are not popular. Some of those don't make me feel good. Some of those are uncomfortable. But that's where we have to have that personal courage. If you're making a decision about what you or your family need to do today, that is not popular, but set your family up for success into the future, that sometimes I think you've been there and I think you can understand what I'm talking about that. Well, our leaders have to go through the same process. So as we work our way through the decisions that are being made, whether it's an economic decision, a diplomatic decision, a military decision, hopefully today you've gained a little bit of understanding, of background of how to evaluate those decisions and maybe help you in your own personal endeavors kind of focus on, how I can look at things now and then how that's going to affect us. What decision am I making today and how is that going to affect my future or my family's future? And I think that's something that hopefully through discussing the strategic, operational, and tactical that we've kind of worked on, and I've helped you form a baseline for that. Thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate the fact that you've revisited us. You can find us also on Spotify and on YouTube. If you'd like to know more about Castle, Chandler Associates for Strategy, Intelligence, and Leadership, go to mark-chandler.com. You can see the different services we offer. You can also see a lot of our news interviews and our newsletter, and you can sign up for that if you'd like. So again, thank you and have a great day.